the station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to Hot Takes with me, hosted by the Murph Man, where life gets real and the mic stays hot. That's right, your favorite is experienced, yeah. That smart and funny guy. From classroom talk to comedy clubs, Murph Man breaks it down with brainy thuds. Parenting stress or college mess, he's been through it all, no need to guess. Insights are sharp and data's tight, rants all ready and the jokes are light. Turn it up, this show is hot. Honest, funny, maybe loud. Never scared to stand out proud. When life gets real, the mic stays warm. Hosted by the dad with lots of charm. Insights are sharp and data's tight. The lens already and the jokes are light. Talk, keeping it true. From high school halls to podcast cues, live a little, learn a lot. Turn it up, this show is hot. Grab your coffee and let's get into it. No filter, no fluff, just real talk. Let's do it. Ready or not, here we go. It's time for Murphland to start the show.
In a world drowning in data and dread, two men rise, not as saviors or scholars, but as the Murph Man and Connor. Witness their journey as they navigate the treacherous waters of, well, whatever they feel like talking about. Prepare for Hot Takes with the Murph Man, where opinions are strong, facts are optional, and personal experiences are the name of the game. They're not experts, but they play them on this show. Their passion isn't a performance, it's who they are. And sometimes that authenticity means a little adult language might slip out. They apologize for that ahead of time, promising to keep it minimal, but their reactions are always genuine. Now grab your coffee, sit back, and enjoy the show. Here are the Murph Man and Connor.
to be heard. Um, we were talking about your senior year going into senior year, and
Senior year going into college.
no, junior year going into senior year. And when it hit you that you were going to be a senior and graduating and going to college, a lot of students have senioritis, is what it's called. That's what we're going to be talking about today, is the senioritis. We tend to mention all the issues that we have going into school. And a lot of people just tend to blow off their senior year. So we're going to talk about how we can avoid doing that. Okay? I think it's time to ignite the fuse.
Today's episode is The High School Playbook, a grade-by-grade guide to success.
Turn it up. This show is hot.
Welcome back to Hot Takes. Today we're talking about high school, not just as 4 years, but as 4 distinct stages of preparation and growth. It's time to ignite the fuse on today's show.
All right. We are igniting the fuse on the show today. But before we get started, let's jump right into the first question on everyone's mind in our segment called The Burning Question.
This week's burning question is, what is the most common pitfall for high school students in their final year? A. Getting into college. B. Senioritis and dropping grades. C. Balancing social life. Or D. Choosing a major. I will give you some time to think about the answer.
Well, we talked a little bit about it. I gave you guys a little clue before we went into the burning question. What do you think it is, Connor? What do you think is the answer there?
I would have to say B, senioritis and dropping grades.
That happens to so many people. As you get into your senior year, a lot of people take the easier classes to be able to get their A, to be able to get good grades, take it easy their senior year. You didn't. You got harder, and your grades got better. So I don't think you had to suffer from senioritis. I think you had that in your junior year, the junioritis. When we talk about the burning question and everything, right? We have getting to college. Were you even thinking about that? Not really, huh? In your senior year?
No,
not really. The school made you do that. The school has a Go Center. They're able to sit there and they do that. The senioritis, we talked about that. Balancing a social life. You started going out and doing things with your friends, right?
Yeah.
And the last was choosing the major. And you're right, the answer is senioritis. One of the things that happens is a lot of times students will go into college applications and apply and try to get into certain places. And maybe their SAT scores are not good enough. Maybe their applications are incomplete. Maybe they haven't done the FAFSA. Maybe they haven't done the financial paperwork that's needed for that. There's so much that goes on in your senior year, right? Now, I know you got annoyed with me with trying to make you do certain things and whatnot, but your counselors were on you as well, right?
No.
No?
No.
You weren't having meetings with your counselors and talking about things?
No. Not really. Not at all. I didn't talk to my counselor as much as I should have.
But they had meetings and everything.
What do you mean meetings?
Yeah. You were telling me that one counselor was always calling you in, asking you questions and everything. Do you think they could have done more? Or you didn't worry about it because I was helping you through that process?
Trying to think. Well, I mean, I don't really need help because of you, but I'm trying to think of the time the counselor asked me questions.
You mentioned the counselor, the guy counselor. I'm not going to mention any names.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned him a lot of times your senior year.
He's always there.
Yeah.
Okay, so not meetings. It was presentations and mandatory.
Okay.
Not
so,
meetings. Not
so
with just a counselor. It was with every senior student at the same time.
Right. But they sat there and they gave you education, they gave you classes, they prepped you for everything they possibly could.
No.
They made sure you had your FAFSA, they made sure you had your Applied Texas.
Yeah.
Right?
They had to, yeah.
So they did do that part.
Yes,
Okay.
but not about my classes or that. It was just getting the checklist of what I need to graduate. That's it.
There was a senior checklist.
Yes, the senior checklist.
And one of the things I mentioned was keep your grades up. Don't stop. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
You know, and before we get a little more into it, I'm going to go ahead and
Today's hot take is high school is not just 4 years, but 4 distinct stages of preparation and growth. This episode provides a grade-by-grade guide to help students stay on track and reduce stress.
yes, that is a great way to stay on track and reduce stress is having that senior checklist. I think that is so important. You know, like I was telling you, that senior checklist said, keep your grades up, stay working hard, make sure you take the classes you need to graduate, right? They get together with you and they go over your schedule and they're like, okay, do you have everything you need to graduate, right?
Yes.
They do that at the beginning of the year. So in case you're missing something that last semester, you can jump in, take whatever that you need to make up if you're falling behind. You were ahead, so you didn't have to worry about that. And actually, next week's episode, we're going to be talking about high school credits in middle school, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But as we're doing this, we have a lot of things that seniors have to deal with because it's one of the biggest changes we ever have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time you told me, I'm an adult now. And he told me like so seriously. And I started laughing at you. I'm like, yep. Right. And it was funny because the realization of that moment to you was like, wow, like I really got to start doing more. And you did. You finished everything you needed to in school, you know.
Well, I had to.
Yeah, but because you were ahead, you did not fall behind on any of those grades. And even though you had 8 classes, how many did you need to graduate? Do you remember?
2.
2 classes. The rest were just supposed to be the easy senior classes. What were your other classes you were taking? We had a history. No, we had history. No. You took geography.
I had
Chemistry. No. Physics.
No. Hold on. Let me get it.
I'm all confused.
Stop. I had AP English.
English. That's one you had to have.
Anatomy and physiology.
A&P.
Yeah. A&P.
Those were the 2 classes you needed to have.
Forensics.
Those were the 2 classes
Yes,
you needed to
those
have,
are what I
right? So you could have
needed.
4 years of science,
Yes.
was anatomy and physiology. But then you took all the easy classes. What were those easy
For-
classes?
Forensics.
Forensics,
2 classes of CCTE, which I needed to graduate.
cybersecurity.
Yeah. Then I had culinary,
Okay.
and then I had audio and video,
Technology, yeah.
and my last class was in my head.
Math.
Oh yes, pre-cal.
Pre-cal.
Yes.
So the only easy class you took your senior year was culinary. I mean, as far as the senior easy classes,
All of them were easy.
because you're smart.
No, they're just easy.
No, you're smart.
They're easy.
You're smart.
They're easy.
You can say what you want. I'm going to say you're smart.
They're easy.
Okay.
They're really easy.
And as you were doing those classes, you know, you didn't really, what's the word? Have too many issues with anything. You just did what you had to do and you finished it, which I'm very proud of you for that. I mean, everyone's supposed to graduate. That's not an accomplishment. I know some people don't. You know, I assumed he was going to graduate. That's just the assumption I made in my life, right? So I knew that wasn't what we were going to be doing. The fact that I didn't have to hassle you your senior year was so proud of you for that because you took care of it on your own. You know, but not every student is like you. And I think right now we need to really talk about how we can prepare ourselves to avoid that, how we can give advice to other people. And when we return from break, we're going to go cover some key terms in our segment called Laying Down the Coals. We'll be right back.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
Wonder what was going on inside the man in black's mind. Was he missing June? Was he thinking back when that picture was snapped? Was he wishing he could hold her? Did he know his life was over? The day that camera flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash. The lines of life there on his face show hard living and show grace. A story told in shades of black. Was he whispering a prayer through that cold and lonesome glare? The day the camera flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
The lines of life there on his face show hard living and show grace. A story told in shades of black. Was he whispering a prayer through that cold and lonesome glare? The day the camera flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash. Wonder what was going on inside the man in black's mind. The day old Marty flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back from the break. Before we dig in, let's clarify some of the terms we're going to be using today so that we all learn the same sheet of music here. First one we have is laying down the coals. So let's go ahead and start that segment.
Here are today's key terms in our Laying Down the Coals segment. Academic planning, strategically selecting courses and activities to align with future goals. College readiness, the combination of academic, social, and emotional skills needed for success after high school. Milestone mapping, identifying key tasks and goals for each grade level to be proactive.
That's right. We're going to have some terms here. We have academic planning, strategically selecting courses. Because you have a degree plan and you have 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 4 years of science, 4 years of social studies, and all your electives, foreign language. And, you know, everyone knows what they have to take, right? Go ahead and you can embarrass me right now, Connor. Since when was I planning your high school?
since 6th grade, you planned my whole high school career.
I did.
Not career, but like all my 4 years and a little bit of college, but that was it.
And I had a plan.
You had a whole like paper sheet from freshman to senior year with like all my classes in order.
In order to make sure you met that plan. And in your sophomore year or at the end of your sophomore year, starting in junior, you had your freedom to do the things you needed to do. And you took a few classes that you wanted. But the options you had, because you had taken all the advanced classes, you didn't have too many others you could take. Like you didn't want to take any piano or fine art, drawing, drama, theater, right? What was the other one? The other options? Environmental sciences. I don't think they offered that one.
No.
There really wasn't other classes you could take, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about that next week. But that planning, yeah, trust me, you're going to hear more about that next week. College readiness, making sure you have the academic necessary done, the social stuff, having your friends, your networks, and everything, and the emotional skills. That's probably one of the hardest things that kids have to learn because you cannot teach them that. You cannot. And that's as we go on in this podcast and the series and the episodes and the seasons go on, you're going to hear a lot more about what to do and how to prepare to enter that world after high school. I just wanted to lay down the foundation of all of that. There's a term called milestone mapping, and it's identifying the tasks and goals that are needed for each grade level to be proactive. When we discuss that, every grade has a specific goal, if you think about that. Your freshman year, it's more about going into high school and learning how to deal with all that drama of going into school, new schools, sometimes the same friends, but in middle school, you have different middle schools that are actually rivals, get to high school, and now you're supposed to be together and be friends and work together like your football team.
Mm-hmm.
You had two middle schools that were rivals, and then you get to football and you're supposed to play together. How did that work for you?
Like any other school year, we didn't really care that we were rivals since we were like in middle school. It didn't really like matter that much to us. We just like made fun of them for going to another school, worse than us for sure.
Okay.
But during football, it wasn't bad. We actually worked good together, and we're all friends now.
And there was no rivalry got carried on to the football team?
No.
All right. But what happened when those two middle schools met for football the first year you were a freshman? Were you rooting for both teams? Or were you rooting for your own middle school?
My own middle school.
Right. So there was no rivalry there either?
No.
All right. I thought there would be a little bit of issues, but that does cause a lot of problems in the hallways with your friends and groups of friends because different people know each other. Okay. You say no.
Well, that's not a problem if people know each other.
Right. But when you have two middle schools and you combine, you don't know half the school.
Okay, then.
You don't find that as a problem?
No.
Well, a lot of people do have an issue with that.
Okay. Like who? Who would have that problem?
A lot of people have that problem. I'm telling you, I was a counselor with kids, dude. I'm telling you, you got lucky. It's so many kids have issues going into high school. You have the body dysmorphia
and all that.
Well, rivalries is one, okay, but then you have the whole issue of just growing up and being a teenager,
Okay,
not liking your body, having family issues at home, having to do harder work. There's so many issues. I'm just talking about the rivalries and pushing kids together.
None of that has to do with rivalries whatsoever.
You're right. The other stuff doesn't. But right now I want to talk about the importance of a playbook that you got to have. You have a plan, that real life example. So let's talk about that in our story from the fire.
Today's story from the fire. Carlos enters high school without a plan and feels overwhelmed by junior year. In contrast, his younger sister creates a high school playbook in 9th grade, which helps her feel more in control.
Carlos was one of those that had no plan. And when he got into middle school, to the middle of high school and got to his junior year, he was overwhelmed. That happens so many times. It maybe didn't happen to you, Connor, luckily, but it happens so many times to others. And one of those things that we're talking about right now, you're like, well, the rivalries isn't that big of a deal. It wasn't so much the rivalry, it was the fact that half the school is someone you don't know. You've been going through school with these people your whole life. You had a little different situation. I'm talking about in general. And then you get to high school, and all of a sudden, half the school you don't know. And that's a problem for a lot of people. That transition is very hard. There's a story that I like by Spencer Johnson called Who Moved My Cheese? And I think it's very, very relevant. If you haven't read it, read the book. It's a book in the business section, but it talks about cheese in a maze. And these four little people, you have two little people named Hem and Ha, and you have Sniff and Scurry, the two little rats. And every morning they go out into the maze and they get their cheese and everyone's happy. One morning they go out there and their cheese is gone. And the whole process of looking for new cheese is a metaphor for what happens when things change. And sometimes your cheese moves, whether you want it to or not. And I'll give an example here. When I mentioned I was a counselor, and going through school, I never wanted to work with kids. I got hired as a social worker at one program that shut down. They wanted me to move over to be a counselor. And I said, I don't want to work with kids, But I went to the job interview and I got the job, and, I was able to counsel kids, and my cheese moved. Like big time. We went from like just one kind of cheese to a completely different kind of cheese. It's like giving up American cheese and going to Camembert. It's like just completely different cheeses. But when you're there and you're going through the changes, that maze, your life is so difficult to navigate, to go out and do those new things. Just so you know, the four characters, Sniff and Scurry, Hem and Ha, represent the way we react to change. Sniff is something changes and you're like, hold on, very cautious. Let's talk about what's happening. Let me think, what's my plan? Then you have other people that like Scurry. Change happens and they just move. They just change everything all of a sudden, Then you have Hem, who like pairs of pants, the hem in your pants. You're stuck in your ways. You're not going anywhere. And then you have Ha. I was going to say hee-haw, but it wasn't hee-haw. Ha, that laughs at himself. And they have this thing called handwriting on the wall. And one of the most important things, I've asked you this several times, Connor, is what would you do if you weren't afraid? And it doesn't matter what situation you're in right now, right? That question is probably the most relevant question anyone could ever ask anybody at any time. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Think about that. Okay, just ask yourself, what would you do if you weren't afraid?
Anything. I would do almost everything known to man if I wasn't afraid of anything.
Okay, but right now, are you afraid of your future, where it's going?
No, I'm not afraid, but I worry about my future, but I'm not afraid of it. If that makes sense.
It is, but let's just pretend they come to you and they say, Connor, we want you to get a job in Alaska, and you're going to be making $300,000 a year.
No.
Why not?
I'm not moving to Alaska. Of all the places, I'm not moving to Alaska at all.
What if that's the only job offer that you get?
Then I keep looking.
But you have to work. You have to
I'll
survive.
work a side gig or minimum wage. Not minimum wage, but something lower than that.
Minimum wage job, an entry level job.
Entry level, yeah.
Okay. What about if you decide to get married? Taking that leap to say, will you marry me? You don't think that was scary?
No, because if I ask that question myself, then I know that I'm ready for a future with someone else in my life.
All right. What about if you do have a future with someone and one day your wife comes and tells you, I'm pregnant?
It's to be expected.
Is it?
Yeah. You think you marry someone and not want to have kids to make a whole family?
I didn't want to have kids.
Oh, well, too bad. Too bad, so sad. Here I am. Look at me.
I was 36 years old, in love with your mom, having a great time, partying, going out, doing God knows what with everyone, right? And all of a sudden she comes over to me and she tells me, I'm pregnant. I'm like, what? What do you mean you're pregnant? And, well, there's Connor. Now, I was saying Connor, he wasn't a mistake or anything. We weren't trying to get pregnant, but we weren't trying not to get pregnant. And that's a very big distinction there, Connor. And he knows this now, but one of my favorite jokes I've ever said, and he hates this joke, is I remember when he was born, I held him in my arms. I looked down into his eyes and I said, I should have worn a condom. My whole life changed and I was stressed, and it was one of those things that you never really know what future's going to bring, but you can do things to prepare for it. And that's what we're going to do. Okay. Is I want you to think about those examples I'm talking about, and let's get into nitty-gritty and give you some of those steps in the heat map when we come back from our break.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
Working out really sets the tone for my day with my mental health. I can start with some endorphins, get a good endorphin release in the morning, and it keeps me on a high essentially throughout the day. It sets the tone really well. My name is Zach. I'm an Army veteran, served from 2016 to 2023 when I got medically retired, and I was 11 Alpha, or also an infantry officer. Yeah, I actually did everything quite backwards. I was a local police officer who did all the fun stuff from SWAT and narcotics, and then wanted to take it to the next step where I wanted to serve on a bigger scale. I think the biggest thing that impacted me when I was deployed was on a mission I was planning about 6 weeks in is when we had our first really bad situation where we ended up getting ambushed. They ended up losing overall 6 out of 50 of our guys. I watched everything unfold on an ISR feed, so I was actually drone footage, couldn't do anything about it. Instead of the survivor's guilt that a lot of my guys were having trouble with, I also had another piece of leader's guilt. For a long time, I blamed myself for getting the guys killed for actually killing my guys. And that was a big piece that I struggled with, especially once we got back in the States. One of the guys, Joey, was 24 years old, 3 months from getting out, left a wife and 3 kids, and losing him was a really big hit for a lot of us. I ended up getting injured over there because I have nerve damage in my left arm, but it wasn't discovered for about 1.5 years. My ulnar nerve was compressed in my elbow. I didn't feel anything different, but it started creating atrophy throughout my whole arm. Surgery did not go well and ended up having to bring a second surgeon in. Eventually, it led to my medical discharge, where I was medically retired. Looking back at it, I was angry at everybody. Angry at God, angry at family, angry at friends, very mad at the world. Every time I go to see family, it immediately goes back to Joey, who isn't there anymore. His kids don't have a father. His wife doesn't have him. The parents don't have him as a son. I was ready to go, ready to become that next statistic. And I sent one final text message to my ex-wife, told her she and my goddaughter would be taken care of. But she said, don't you dare, the cops are on the way. I ended up moving in with a friend of mine that was a Navy veteran. And we were talking one night, and he's like, I truly believe that if you look at it, you probably don't even love yourself anymore. He's like, you know what? Walk upstairs, look in the mirror, tell yourself you love yourself. Too easy. So I stomp upstairs, go look in the mirror. I got out of my mouth, and then I collapsed in a panic attack. It was the point that I realized that something was broken. That's an empowering thought to me because I grew up fixing things. something's broken, let me fix it. And that first step was seeking therapy. So I opted for the outpatient. So overall, it was kind of normal therapy, right? You get on a weekly call. I got some homework each week, different things from, start journaling this week, start reading more often, start meditating, which is one of those that meditation was like so difficult, right? Like sitting still, because that was the hard part when I was going through all the dark phases. You sit still, you sit quiet, and all of a sudden you hear the skeletons in the closet scratching at the door, right? So finding the guy that left the space for me was huge, because for some reason he did a great job of making me feel comfortable enough to do the thing all men hate and share feelings. He said, don't run from the feelings, right? Sit in whatever you're feeling, so that way you can actually start working through and analyzing what those feelings are coming from and how to handle those. I think the biggest benefit for relationships, especially after therapy, one, I'm in a good relationship now with my significant other. That would have never happened, man. Having a partner at home, a battle buddy in a relationship has been awesome. Family's back on the table again. I think that's one of the biggest shifts, is like really recognizing like I actually do deserve that, and not blame myself for all the families that don't have that because of what we went through. If you want me to be honest about it, I didn't want to share my story. This is a very uncomfortable thing for every veteran. No different than the nonprofit, as I go and I travel and I do something similar, highlighting local veterans across the country. It's funny, I had to catch myself, because initially I was like, oh no, I'm not that guy. And I started stacking a list of recommendations of other local veterans. And I'm like, you know what? That's so hypocritical of me. It's the right thing, right? You got to get out there and share it so everybody else will follow suit. That's the part that's so empowering to me, is like, if you can recognize that broken link, you can fix it. Just don't avoid looking for that piece, no matter how uncomfortable it may be.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed.
Now that you have entered high school, your life is about to change. Here are some steps to take as a freshman. Most importantly, make sure to build strong habits. Start exploring interests. It is also very important to get involved in clubs or sports.
Now, as we're talking about freshmen, I think this applies to freshmen at high school and college. You got to get those strong habits. You got to explore your interests. You have to get involved in clubs and sports. Like, for example, you're doing the football game, homecoming, stuff like that. So as you're playing football, you're doing all that stuff, you're going to homecoming, you're going to prom. There's all these things that we can do, and as we're doing it, we learn more about ourselves. We grow up as a person. We understand that we have to work harder for certain things. And one thing that I've told Connor is, use your free time at college to finish your homework, eat lunch, go back, work until you're done, because it's a place where you can just stay focused on work and not worry about anything. I think that's a very, very key issue there, because as he's able to study, he's able to get his work done. And, like, for the first time in my life, I heard him say tomorrow, meaning he told me that this morning, tomorrow, Sunday, he says, I got to study because I got a test on Monday. I've never heard him say that ever. And I think, he's gotten those study habits started early as a freshman in college, because, he didn't have to go to high school. But he's started good. Now, how he finishes, well, no one will ever know, right? But in high school, what can we do? What can we do in high school to prepare ourselves? Hopefully, and I talked about this in my very first episode, parents, you work with the kids coming into school, elementary, middle school, getting those study habits, so that when they get to high school, they have them. Having a dedicated space for you to work at, having the books and notebooks and pens and pencils and computers and tablets and whatever else the kids need so they can work. That's very, very important. And on a side note, this is something that, the elementary school teachers are always telling us when we turn in supplies. Do not write your child's name on the school supplies, because there's some kids whose parents can't afford to buy that stuff, and the teacher buys it or gets other donations. So when another kid gets a book that says, this book belongs to Connor, well, that's not my book, it's Connor's book. No, don't label your kids' school supplies, you guys. Don't do it, because you need to be able to share the wealth with the kids. I know we don't like to do that, but the reality is funding in schools is very low, and we don't really get to do too much there. And teachers end up buying a lot of stuff out of our pockets. As we're talking about students and getting their study habits and moving forward, we are able to start getting better in elementary school, going to school, getting those study habits, and hopefully by the time you get to college, you have them. And I've told Connor, like, my prep for the podcast, I spend time preparing for the podcast. I study what I'm going to be talking about. I don't just come in here and wing it. I have my stories prepared. I have things I want to say, and it's just the study habits I've had, especially since I was in the military. I had to do that. As we teach our kids that, it's so important to understand that as freshmen, it's very difficult. But not only for freshmen, the next thing we have to talk about is the next grade, which is sophomores. So let's talk about some things that sophomores have to do.
Here is the actionable steps you can take in today's heat map for your sophomore year. Make sure to focus on your GPA. Deepen your involvement in a few key activities. And take the time and start exploring potential careers.
As a sophomore, you ask yourself, like, why do I have to worry about my GPA as a sophomore? That's so silly. I don't have to worry about that till my junior, senior year. But as you go, you have to start focusing on your work, and you have to start focusing on everything that you need to get into the college of your choice. And GPA is one of those things. Now, what's funny is, again, next week we're going to talk about middle school and how you can get high school credits in middle school. Do you think kids are ready to think about their GPA in 7th grade? They're not. They're not. Even as freshmen, we don't really think about it too much. I can tell you my GPA in high school was like a 2.1. I was barely passing every course I could take. Now, there's some classes I liked, like ROTC and a few other ones where I was doing really well and got A's in them and whatnot. But for the most part, I was a really, really bad student. And GPA was not something I even considered. I never thought I'd even go to college. I mean, that's why I joined the Army. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I had no plan, no nothing. That's one reason I made sure Connor had a plan. Also, be involved in activities as a sophomore. This is where you start getting those friendships, joining sports, clubs. Like, I'll tell you right now, my junior year, I was in the Spanish club, the French club, ROTC, student council. I was in charge of the rowdies at school, where at football games, we cheered on the team and whatnot. We had a whole section to ourselves. It was crazy. But you start doing that. And like I said, I didn't have any plan going to college. So I never really thought of the future. I got to graduate. It was April of my senior year. And I'm like, I need to do something with my life. I have no idea. I joined the reserves in April. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the Army. I was working at Kmart, and I had a full-time job, but not enough to really live on, but I was not full-time. I had a part-time job, but it wasn't enough to live on. And I didn't want to work the rest of my life. And, when I joined the military, it was just, all right, this is what we do, but I'm giving you guys the tips on what I wish I would have done differently. And one of them is definitely explore careers down the road. There's a lot of ways to do that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, okay? But what about juniors? Juniors is the next grade that you have to think about as you go in. So let's talk about that.
Well, by now you are halfway there. You can see the end is in sight. What do you have to focus on now? How about college? Prepare for the SAT, ACT. Start thinking about where you want to go to college and think about possibly visiting colleges. Now is the time to take it up a notch and double down on academic excellence.
Talk about. All right, that's right. We got to talk about the SAT and the ACT. There's courses you can take to prepare for that. There's books you can read. There's websites that will help you. Heck, there's even a channel on TikTok where the guy tells you this is how you solve the math problems. And those tips would help you if you actually take the time to study them. Because a lot of people don't. We don't study, we don't prep for stuff. That's just something that we don't do. But preparing for the SAT is so important so that you can get into those colleges. Okay. Also, visit colleges. People say, why would I want to visit a college? Well, you don't know where you want to go to school, right? But sometimes going to a campus gets you interested in that school, and you see the camaraderie and you see the area, and you're like, I could come to this school. I see myself coming to this school. Luckily, here in El Paso, we have UTEP, which is a great engineering program. And Connor was like, well, why should I go anywhere else? It's one of the best in the country. Yeah, you're right, but don't you want more? Like we were talking about changes and everything, getting out of the house, going doing your own things. And your junior year is where you have to double down on academic excellence. When we think about that as a junior, you're like, I don't want to worry about my grades. It's just, I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start working. I'm going to start this. And school becomes your secondary option. It's not really your primary focus. So think about that as a junior. But as a senior, seniors are interesting. Let's talk about that.
You are nearing the finish line, but not quite there. Now is not the time to take your foot off the gas. Ellipsis, this is when you start applying to colleges and scholarships. Make sure to avoid senioritis and stay focused on your grades.
All right. So as a senior, you start applying for your colleges and scholarships. And one of those things that we have to do is those essays. Nobody likes writing those essays, right? But you can't use AI because they will catch it. They'll be able to say, hey, this kid did not write this essay, so you got to take the time to write an essay. And what's interesting is you have to write so many different essays for different things. You can have one general one, but sometimes they want to ask you, what do you see yourself in the future? Or tell me how your family impacted you here, or whatever the case may be. So applying to those colleges and applying for those scholarships are very important. And of course, senioritis. And I talked about this. Connor did not have senioritis. He had junioritis. So let's talk with Connor and let's see what he has to say about all these steps in high school and 9th through 12th grade. What do you think, Connor? Anything that I just mentioned stuck out with you?
The one thing that stuck out to me was junior year. I wouldn't say you have to double down on academic like that. I'd say that's more like sophomore year.
I think it should be done earlier.
A little bit, yeah. Because junior year, it's like, okay, I got the hang of it now. I'm an upperclassman. I'm not a lower class anymore, and I got my routine down. I could ease into it, ease into school and all that, which leads to senioritis, where they're just lazy and don't do anything.
And you just proved my point about how you did that, and your senioritis came in your junior year. You just explained why that happened to you.
Yes.
Do you know the game of 21?
The game of 21?
Yeah.
No.
Like blackjack?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you get under an 11, what are you supposed to do?
Hit.
Well, it's not hit.
Yeah.
It's double down, depending on what number you have, right? Because you can't go over 22 into 21 because your highest card is a 10. So if you have an 11, you always want to double down. You want to put double the effort and bet twice. Okay, that's a strategy. Double down.
It's not a good strategy, but if it
Why
works,
not?
it works.
Why is it not a good one?
Why would you put double down on an 11?
Because the chances to double your bet and most cards come out as a 10.
No, they don't. They come out as like a 4 or 5.
All right, so let's talk about the deck real quick. How many cards are in the deck?
52.
52. All right. So out of that, you have aces. There's 4 of them, right?
4 of
Okay.
each card.
Ace, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
That's 20 cards. Okay. 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. That's 20 cards. All right. So you have a 33% chance of hitting a 9 or above.
Yeah.
So that's why you double down.
But you still have a 33 chance of hitting
Something lower.
something
Right.
lower.
And you can't hit. That's why it's called gambling. The whole point of doubling down is you take an opportunity to just do better in that moment. And that's why we mentioned doubling down as a junior, because you might already be doing this. You might already be doing well. But this is where you really need to focus to get your GPA up. You know, you do that, you get your GPA up, you do better. And before you know it, you're graduating high school and you're moving on to college. And you took those SATs, you passed them, you got your ACTs, you did that. There's another thing. What?
I didn't get ACTs.
You did take, well, okay, I'm talking about in general. This is
Oh,
not all
okay.
about you, Connor, okay? The world is not only you.
My bad. That's sorry. I take that on me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. As you do those tests, one thing you did have to take was the TSIA, which is your Texas entrance test, and you had to pass it with certain levels. Now, the first time you took it, you missed it by 2 points.
For both of them, yes.
Yeah, well, you missed it by 2 points because there's English and math, or reading and math, whatever the two categories are.
Reading and writing, and then math.
Reading and writing and math. That's it. And then, I'm not going to worry about this my junior year. I'm going to do it my senior year. Then he went and he did a TSA boot camp at school during spring break. Well, not during spring break. They have 2 weeks here. They call it intersession first week and then spring break. And the intersession is where they can still go to school and they take their time. So Connor goes and he takes the test, and this time he missed it by 1 point. And he was so angry. He's like, screw this, I'm not doing it. And I said, Connor, you don't take this test, you can't get into college. Any college. It's not even like, this is bare minimum, It's not bare minimum like a score, but I'm talking about he has to pass his test to get into college. So that night we stayed up and I gave him a few tips on math, which I suck at math, right? But I give you a few tips on how to do certain problems. I asked you, what's hard for you? Let's go over those. And we studied just an hour or two, not even long. And the next morning he went to go take the test. You want to talk about how you started it?
So when you're doing the TSI, there's 2 sections. There's the first part where it's the diagnostic, and if you
do well
on it and get the passing score that you need to have in order to pass the TSI, you could just complete it within those 10, 15 questions and not have to do the whole test. So I went in there in the morning at 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I forgot when.
With a really good attitude.
I was tired. I was so tired that morning. Oh my God. And I was with my friends because they were sat next to me and all that. And we were doing the test. And I was just answering them. I was just like, boom, boom, boom. And then the only ones I had trouble on were the ones that I didn't do good on. Because when I failed it the first and second time, there's a way you could how can I say it? Check your score and to see what you needed to improve on.
You mean after you take the test, it tells you these are the areas of improvement where you can need to score better to pass?
Yes.
Okay, which we did.
which we studied, and I did like, I would say out of the 15, I did 11, I would say. And it just ends it for me. Just
The
saying,
test just finished.
oh, you got the 950. Congratulations. I was like, oh, okay. I've never done this before. So I was so lost on what to do now. And I went up to the guy and he was like, "Do you need help?" I'm like, "No, I passed." He's like, "Really? That fast?" I was like, "Yeah." I I was shocked, but I'm just glad that I passed it before I even did the whole test itself.
Well,
Thank
you already
God.
passed the English section. Let's make that clear. You were just going back for the math section.
I passed English my second
You
time.
passed your English the first time. You missed
No, I
math.
didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
I failed both of them the first time.
Okay.
Because the first time for English, I did it. I got like a 946. I need 950.
Okay.
But I also needed a 5 on the essay.
Which you suck at writing.
But the thing is, wait. Oh, I did it 3 times. The first time, the essay didn't even show up for me.
Oh, that's what it was.
So I couldn't, like, no matter what.
So you weren't, that's part, okay.
That was part of
So the first part, you took the English test. It didn't count the essay, so you didn't get that credit.
It didn't
So
even
then
have the essay. I had no choice.
You
so
didn't pass the math. Then went back the second time, took the English and math, passed the English with flying colors, then math by 2 points. And then the third time, you went into just the math and rocked it.
Yeah, because I was worried about English more than math.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I laugh about that because I think part of it was your attitude. You weren't stressing it so much. I told you, you know the information, but the stress of it is something that you got to be aware of. You know, so there's all these tips we give you as adults, you know, but the thing is you're young and you're going to make mistakes. And when the stakes are high, you tend to have issues sometimes. Not you, just I'm talking about kids in general. So let's talk about some of those common mistakes when we come back from break in the segment where you're going to get burned.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
Honestly, I'm not really sure why I'm calling. It's just, I can't do this by myself anymore.
Whatever you're going through, VA is here to help. Visit veteranscrisisline.net to learn more.
And we're back. So let's talk about some of those things that you're going to get when you get burned in our section where you'll get burned.
That's a great list of pitfalls to avoid. The common mistakes that a lot of seniors make are:
waiting until junior year to get serious puts immense pressure on students. Overloading on AP classes without a plan can lead to burnout. And ignoring extracurriculars and focusing on a long list of fleeting commitments over a few meaningful ones.
Like I said, waiting until your junior year to get serious makes it really hard to try to come out of that hole. I can tell you, it's just so hard to come out of that hole. Another thing that people do is they take AP classes or the dual credit courses because they're trying to like get ahead in college and everything. And that's a whole other episode. Literally, we're gonna have a whole episode on that coming up in a couple weeks. But you know, Connor only took 2 AP courses because that's all they would give him. English and A&P honors. You had honors. Same thing. There's a difference. AP gives you the test. That's the only difference. But
so did yeah. Okay, never mind. You're right. Yeah.
You know, can you imagine being a freshman, 14 years old, taking college courses? I don't think you're really learning anything at that point. You know, but all these kids that take AP classes and the on-ramp classes for UT and all those, it's one of those things where it puts a lot of pressure on the kids. So I don't always recommend that unless your kid's not going to go to college and they need all the help they can to get a few college credits under their belt before they get out. that's how you would do that. And of course, ignoring your extracurriculars and focusing on so many things that are not relevant and not focusing on what's meaningful for you, because you're going to learn what's important in your life. And 2 weeks ago, we talked about Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits, the stuff that's urgent, important, non-important, remember that? And focusing on that quadrant where it's important because it matters. Sometimes we do things and they don't matter. Like me joining all the clubs didn't help me with anything. It was funny because I was taking French and Spanish, but I needed ESOL to graduate because I couldn't speak English too well. I know, looking at this, you don't realize I'm Mexican, but it's that thing that as you go through college, high school, you want to make sure you focus on what you need to focus on. It is so important. And when we talk about the playbook, it's having that plan. It's very important to have that plan and put it to use. And, I want you to think about that. If you had a plan in school, what would you do with it? Let's think about that in our section called the Afterburn.
In the Afterburn segment, we look at what lingering questions you may have and what lasting impacts we can make. Thinking about your own goals is a great exercise for doing this.
Take a moment to reflect on your academic strengths, your interests outside the classroom, your goals for the school year.
That's right. Academic strengths. Connor, what were you good at in school?
Mostly math.
Mostly math. Why math? What was it about math that you liked? Did you like it better? Did you prefer it? Why math?
Just logic and numbers. That's honestly what got me into it.
And you're taking class up to pre-cal, and I can tell you right now, you give me a math problem with a letter in it, I ain't solving it. It's that simple. That's not my strength. I'm smart with numbers. You see me do percentages and stuff, basic number math, but like algebra and stuff like that, I never know. And one thing I realized as an adult, do you know why you take so many math courses? Do you know what's one advantage of math besides learning to solve problems?
It's in everything.
It's in everything. But what's the other part of it that I've told you? I don't know if you remember. Taking the math courses teaches you to think differently. I grew up 2 plus 2, you go 1, 2 plus 1, 2. Well, I'm not on camera. And that's 4, right? Now it's like tally this and tally that, and then, cross the lines. There's all this new way of doing math. And you never seen the multiplication?
No.
Okay.
Not the tally.
Yeah. So like, let's say you have 100 times 10. And you put one line, you haven't seen that? And then you cross the lines as a cross, and then you count the dots in each section? No? When we go to break, I'll show you what that is, and you're going to be like, But there's all this new way of solving problems. And I was like, this is stupid. It's simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 plus 2, done. But it's about teaching you how to think differently. And they've been pushing it a lot more in elementary schools now. Also, think about all your interests outside of the classroom, all the clubs, football, sports, work, all the stuff that you were involved in, cybersecurity, what was the program you were in, the competitions?
Cyber Patriot.
Cyber Patriot, there you go, And when you would do those, you had fun. And one time we had to miss it because we were out of town on a college visit. And your team was like, Connor, we need you. Remember that? And you're like, I'm sorry, I'm out of town. There's nothing I can do. And you missed it. And you felt so bad. Your team could have used you.
And that was my first competition.
Yeah, you missed it. And I feel so bad for that because, I really do believe that you were involved in cybersecurity. I wanted you to have those experiences, and you've known this. I feel so bad, but what would you rather have done? Because you did another Cyber Patriots later. Would you rather have been there for the Cyber Patriots or the visit we did to Dallas, visit the colleges?
I would rather do the Cyber Patriot contest.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like the college?
No. That was just something to like go out of town and explore other schools. I mean, I knew I was going to go to UTEP like from the beginning, so that was just to see if I wanted to do something or not.
Confession time? Remember why we did the college visit?
Why?
Iron Maiden was coming in concert to Dallas on Saturday. And the flights they had would not get us there in time on Friday night. To get us there in time, we'd have to be getting to my friend's house close to like 1 a.m. And I was not going to wake him up at that time. So I said, let's leave earlier. And we used the excuse of the college visit. So we just threw that in there. So we have a permission to leave school.
That's right.
You remember that now?
Yeah.
And we went and we were able to do the college visit. Then we went and hung out at Dave & Buster's and we watched the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. And then on Saturday we went to the concert, and Sunday we came home. The whole trip was around the Iron Maiden concert. The college visit was just thrown in there, but it was fun. And, that's why we did it. But I can say that now because you graduated, no one cares. Right? But the college visit was interesting because you did learn about the college and it sounded, really interesting around the area. But by doing all this stuff, you guys, you get to have this plan, and when you graduate, it's not such a change. It's not a shock to the system. It's one of those things when you sit there and you think about your own goals and you reflect on where you are. Okay, so we're going to go to break, and when we return from break, we're going to give you some resources so that you can look up some of this stuff in the next segment we call the heat shields. We'll be back.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
When I served, my work was critical, and I don't feel like that's the case anymore.
I lost all of my friends when I got out. Had to start my whole life over.
I didn't know what to do each day. Then my marriage hit a real rough patch.
It got so bad that I was even thinking about suicide. I called the Veterans Crisis Line. I tell my buddies to call in case they ever need it.
When I retired, things slowed way down and lots of bad memories came back. I still go through tough times, but I'm glad I called.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
The person on the other end of the line isn't going to judge. Lots of responders are veterans too.
We all need to take care of ourselves. If you're going through a rough time, call the Veterans Crisis Line.
Another regular day, nobody knows. It's that time he's coming home to them from a foreign land. He pulls up, his mama cries, looks at daddy with tears in his eyes and says, nothing feels better than this. Couple of months go by and no one sees. Something just ain't right, all he wants is peace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free and put his mind at ease. We will help 'cause we we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again. He gets help, but he still feels off. Season out on the TV about a dog batting said, this is a man's best friend. Whoa, so he goes one day and he picks it up. Never thought a dog could bring so much love and put a smile on his face. But he's finally found a saving grace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again. Whoa, whoa. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, welcome back, you guys. And vets, listen to me. You're not alone. There's help. We lose 22 vets a day to suicide. That's why the song I just played was Make 22-0 Again. Suicide is one of those things that does not need to happen. It's preventable. You can get some help. If you can call 988 and press 1, and you can get the help you need 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're not alone. I can tell you, I've gone through the services at the VA Center. I've used the benefits, and they help. And it might help you get some sleep, relax, deal with all that anxiety, all the stuff that you didn't deserve to go through. Get the help you need. 988, you guys. And speaking of heat shields and the stuff that will prevent us from getting burned, that's our next segment.
After this show, where can you go to get more information on all of these subjects? Let's give you some shields to prevent you from getting burned. You can always go to purehottakes.com for any episode information, where you can watch replies, get a transcript of the show, and see the slides I had during the show. Parents and students alike can go to the school's guidance counselor. You can also go to the College Board website for SAT and AP prep. You can also check out Naviance, which happens to be a college, career, and life readiness (CCLR) platform on the internet. Also, don't forget SchoolLinks. You can get a lot of good information there as well.
These are all things and websites you can go to get the help you need. One of the most important ones, though, is College Board, because it has all the information, SAT, AP tests, all of that. Now, one thing I'm going to caution everyone on, every student that is in school that has to go and sign up for College Board or the FAFSA or Apply Texas or whatever applies to your state, okay, TAFSA here in Texas also, make sure you have an email that is not the school email. Because the day you graduate, you lose access to that email and therefore access to everything. Connor was at school and the counselors were like, okay, you need to go and create an Apply Texas account and you need to create a college bond. Remember all that? Mm-hmm. And he comes back and he's like, hey, the counselors had me do this, this, and this. I'm like, wait a minute, time out. I already had that done for you. I already had them signed up. I never covered it with him because it wasn't relevant at the time. It wasn't time to do the FAFSA or anything. But so it was funny because he applied on his school email, and when I asked him to change it to his personal email, they deleted all his applications. You remember that? Yeah. And it just, he had to reapply every place he had applied to, which I think it was UT Austin, UNT, UTEP, Community College. Was there any other college you applied to?
What did you say? UTEP,
UT,
Austin,
yeah.
EPCC, UNT.
Am I missing anyone?
No.
Yeah, all those applications had to be redone, and then we had to call the school and say we had to reapply through Apply Texas. Also the UTEP page. Once he decided to go to UTEP, we applied for scholarships there. The way they do things, we've learned that your scholarship applications have to be done early. And I think we did them in March, February or March, right? And you don't realize it, but some of these scholarships awarded in March. So if you wait until after you graduate high school and you go into the summer before you start school to apply for scholarships, you're not getting any. Connor got himself 4 scholarships totaling almost $6,400. So good job, Connor.
Thank you.
He wrote those essays and everything for that. But you have the College Board, you also have the Naviance and SchoolLinks. Go to those sites, make your accounts, get information, because it's so important to get all that done in time so that you don't have to be rushing at the last minute. And it also makes you eligible for a lot of other reasons. So, I'm sorry. Wait, my nieces aren't going to be able to make it in today. They have something going on. So I was just checking a message. Sorry about that. But you got the tools. Now I'm giving you the final word in our segment called The Final Burn.
Going back to the title of the episode, The Playbook for High School, today's final burn is, high school is a 4-quarter game, not a sprint, so play smart from the beginning. Thanks for joining us today on Hot Takes with the Murph Man. We hope this guide helps you play smart throughout your high school career. And that wraps up our first segment of the show. It's always great to hear from the people closest to me and get a glimpse into their worlds. Coming up after the break, let's see how the college students are handling this year and what challenges they have had and hopefully overcame.
Well, the only student we're going to be listening to today is Connor. It's going to be all about you, dude. It's always all about you, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, right now I'm going to play something here. It's called the Campus Heat, and it has a little disclaimer on it that I want to share with everyone here.
Now for the moment you've been waiting for. We're moving on to our next segment, Campus Heat.
Just a quick disclaimer. The opinions and experiences shared in this segment are those of the students we've spoken to and do not necessarily represent the views of their respective universities. A quick heads up. They'll do their best to keep things professional, but sometimes a little adult language might slip out, and they apologize for that ahead of time. We'll be diving into everything from the latest viral trends to the biggest challenges they're facing. Let's get into it. Let's find out what is making college students sweat on campuses this week.
And with that out of the way, I wanted to put that out there just in case they're able to join me. But as we know in this section, we tend to be a little more real, a little more us, if you want to call it that, a more local type of flair here. And before I dive into that, I just want to go over this with Connor. You know, I asked at the beginning of the show, how are things going for you this week? Did anything happen or anything interesting this week that you want to talk about? Just in general.
Like in college, like just anything.
Anything.
No, not really. Nothing happened. Minapalooza was yesterday night.
What's that?
It's like how can I explain Minapalooza?
It's a homecoming kickoff celebration.
Yeah, homecoming kickoff to football and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. How can you have homecoming in the first week of school? You know, it's like, that's just crazy. It's too early.
That's what we had.
I know. I hated it too. You know. But yeah, you know, college kicked off all the activities getting involved with. You got your tickets for the game. Who are they playing? Do you remember?
Was it UT Martin?
That's it. So let's see how they do. You know, one of those things that just you gotta, you know, it's homecoming, your first homecoming. So I hope you enjoy yourself. You know.
I hope.
Now, when I ask you about college, right? What's the other thing you did this week that was new to you? I mentioned it earlier in the show. You studied.
Oh.
That's a big deal. But you're using it. And you told me something. I said, where do you go for your studying? And you told me
the Union, the UGLC building, my car.
Your car? Why do you go to your car?
So when I'm done, I could just leave and not walk.
Yeah, because I can't imagine studying for 2 hours and then having to walk all the way to your car. I get that.
Yeah.
Are you using the bus yet? We talked about that last week.
No.
You're not? You might want to like look at that a little closer so you don't have to walk. I know you like walking, you like exercising and stuff. You know. But it's never convenient for you. Just you happen to have those hours offhand.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other thing, like I said, you studied, but you said it's hard to find a place to study because everyone is doing it. And it's hardly any places you can sit down and study. Right?
Yeah.
Now, what about your friends that you're in those classes with? Can you meet together and study together as a group?
Yeah, but there's no spots.
There's nowhere to go.
No.
Have you tried the library?
Yes. No.
Really?
All the computers are full. There's like a little lobby when you walk in. That's full because Starbucks is there. Upstairs there's some chairs, but we really don't go into the library that much because we want to talk. We don't want like to be quiet.
Can I give you a suggestion?
What?
Go to the public library and get one of those rooms, and you can all sit there and talk all you want.
That's public. That's all the way downtown. We want something on campus.
I know, but if you can't do it on campus, you can just go somewhere.
We can't go somewhere.
You can't?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, there's always some place. But, it just depends on how bad you want to do it. A lot of, what we used to do? When I used to go to Sol Ross, we used to have school on Saturday, and then I stayed the night, and Sunday morning we'd have half a day. That Saturday night, we would all go to the restaurant. And it was funny because the restaurant would become a bar, like a club, dancing and everything at night. So we would stay there, do homework. Every now and then go take a break and dance, have a beer or two, maybe go back to the lab before they close, that kind of stuff. And as we were able to do that, we were able to help each other with all of our assignments. But we only did it at that time. Everyone says you should have someplace quiet and private, and I don't need that. If it's too quiet, my ADD kicks in and I can't do anything. But going out and doing that is very important. Like I told you, one of the things about college is you want to make sure you're making networks, right? Now, the other question I haven't asked you this yet. This is going to be the first time I'm asking you this. It's nothing major. It's nothing shocking. But out of all the equipment I've got that you bought, right? Have you used your calculator?
No.
No, not yet. Have you used your tablet?
Yes.
You have? Yes. Okay. Are you using it to take notes or anything in class?
No.
No? Okay. You did by little pen. You can take notes and stuff if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, but I'd rather just do it on paper.
Okay. And let's see, what else did I buy you? Remember your laptop stand?
I use it on my bed.
On your bed? Okay. It's portable. You can take it with you everywhere you go. So let me give you, I got another one. I found another one.
Another what?
Another laptop stand like this one. It's not like this fancy, but it's something I can give you so you can use that laptop stand when you take it to UTEP and stuff. The other one's more sturdy. It's a better.
This one's sturdy also.
Well, it's bigger. It's better.
I don't want bigger.
You don't want bigger and better?
No, I want something thin.
Okay. Well, let's get to talking about your school. Okay. This week was your second week you're commuting to school. Your first week you were telling me, God, traffic is horrible. I don't know which way to go. How do I get there? Getting into campus, off campus. You had all those issues. How about now? How's that going for you?
I'm getting used to it. It's still like the same a little bit, but I got my ways to get around now.
Okay.
So it's not as bad as it was.
So you figured it out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One thing I really appreciate is you take the time to let me know when there's an accident on the freeway that it's not you. You have no idea how much I appreciate that. Also, if I see that there's an accident or something, I'll let you know, hey, don't go here, there's an accident, whatever. One of the advice I give everybody, this is something I'll give you, is when you're traveling somewhere and you have to be there at a certain time, like say a movie starting, or you're going to be at an event, a dance, whatever the case may be. When you're leaving the house, plot a map to that location and just see if there's any accident or anything on the way so you can plan from the very beginning. And Connor does that every now and then, right?
Yeah.
One time he calls me, he goes, hey, there's an accident downtown, so I'm going to take this street to get to UTEP. I said, all right, that's fine. And that's one thing Connor hates, that I make him drive around town. But how many different ways can you get to UTEP? If you really needed to.
Well, there's only like, how many entrances into UTEP? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. Well, you can take the border highway. Well, I-10 is one, right? Border highway.
Border highway, Montana.
Montana. Now, when you get down to Cotton, you can go up to Murchison.
The hospital and the scenic.
And then the other one, scenic Rim Road.
Rim Road, yeah.
So there's 5 ways to get to the campus, right?
And I've taken all 5.
And there's a 6th one I told you in the event you needed to do it, was to go all the way past UTEP to the next exit and come back down. Remember executive? And you've taken all 5, you said.
Yeah.
Same thing coming back. You have 6 routes out of the school. So you've learned that. There's also a 7th route that's a little longer, but you actually take scenic drive.
Yeah.
There's no need to take that unless you absolutely have to, right? But so as you commuted, you've been able to find your way around campus a lot easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's good. And now on campus, one of the things you did the first day of school was you walked 6.7 miles. Can you pull up your phone and go to the S Health app real quick and just see how much you walked on Monday or last week? That's your day you had most classes.
Last week or like this Monday?
This past Monday.
I walked. Okay. Monday was.
Oh no, Tuesday. The 2nd.
Was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
4 miles.
4 miles. Okay. So that's a 33% drop in mileage that you had to walk.
Almost half, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's pretty good. Have you had a chance to explore campus and found anything there that you've been interested in or you liked or anything?
No.
No, you haven't?
There's nothing going on.
There's nothing going on? So you haven't got to any new places on campus or anything?
No.
We have a TikTok page here that they go around interviewing students. And one of the questions they asked was, do you know the name of the type of architecture at UTEP? And they were giving away like $100. So I'm going to ask you again. We covered that already. Let's see if you remember.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? It's Bhutanese.
Yeah, I
right?
don't remember that.
But yeah, just because you walk around and you're going to bump into people. They're doing different things, meet different people. The first week of school, you had chemistry class in a huge classroom, and you're like, this is just way too big. I'm not going to know anybody. But then how many people do you sit with now?
4, but yeah, I know like 13, 14 people.
And how many people do you think are in the class total?
324. I could double check.
How do you feel about having so many students in one classroom? Was that a shock for you?
And it was an auditorium. I just didn't expect. Yeah, 361.
361. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it, but I don't mind it.
Okay. So you're getting adjusted to that.
Yeah.
Is there anything in any of your classes that you found interesting? And it's still starting, so you're still going over the basic stuff, learning how to use the syllabus and whatnot. But have you had any subjects you've covered that you've been like, oh, that's going to be cool to talk about?
No.
Nothing yet?
Nothing yet.
You haven't learned anything?
No.
Not yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay, labs start next week, right?
Yep.
So
this Monday.
Well, yeah. Next week, this week, Just let me talk about it. Let me ask you guys. Think about this. If I tell you today is Saturday, what do you call the Saturday that comes next? So if I'm going to tell you, just make plans for
this Saturday would be the next one.
This Saturday, even though today's Saturday.
Oh, like you're talking about like today?
Yeah, today's Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Okay. But if it's Sunday, let's make plans for
this Saturday.
This Saturday. All right. If I am talking about last week.
Last Saturday.
But if I'm talking about like right now, I mentioned Monday and Tuesday from last week. Right? Okay, and I say next week. Right? Okay. When I tell you on Wednesday, what are you doing on Saturday? And you ask me, this Saturday or next Saturday? Right? Okay. This Saturday, we make plans. There's some people, I don't know what's wrong with you guys, that say if I tell you the next Saturday, to them it means the next Saturday on the calendar.
Yeah.
Which for us is this Saturday. So that's pretty stupid that the English language can be so screwed up like that, right? Because the next Saturday is this Saturday in our language.
Yeah.
So be aware of that when you're making plans with people. Did you have any kind of challenges this week at all?
Just chemistry with like notes and stuff that I don't like, that we didn't usually talk about during high school. So that's a little ish on me.
Not in high school anymore.
I know.
It changes. What about your schedule? Are you getting used to it, and is it easier now?
Very easier. It's the same thing I've been doing. It's like an A-day, B-day almost. So
almost.
Technically is, but yeah.
So getting used to walking on the campus, you're not having to walk as much because you're knowing where you go now and you're finding out your skid, how it goes. What about eating? Have you been able to eat on campus?
Yeah, I've been able to eat on my gaps. That's it. Or just after school since I get out at like 1:20.
Okay. And you went to the buffet one time?
Yeah.
But most of the time you're eating Pizza Hut.
Or Panera, yeah.
Or Panera. Panera? Ooh, fancy. No, I know you like pizza, so you've been going to Pizza Hut a lot. I know that much.
Yeah.
What's the other restaurant they have there? Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A. And they also got
excuse me,
this like Chinese place also.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's not like one where you pay like Panda. It's not like that. It's more like in the plates. You know what I mean? Like those to-go plates.
Yeah.
That's mostly what it is.
Okay. Well, you're finding things you can eat there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any plans that when things start, like your labs, when they start happening, when you have to do more work, do you have any plans, like you've been thinking ahead to any of that?
Nope. Just gotta see how it goes.
Just wing it, right? That's so funny. If I were to ask you a year or 2 or 5 from now, I'm going to ask you, how was your first couple of weeks of school? What do you think is going to be the memory that stuck out with you the most?
The traffic. That was it.
The traffic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing major or anything life changing.
All right. So it hasn't been too traumatic then. That's good. That's good. Any challenges or anything that you, like a victory, you overcame a challenge that you're like, hey, I'm able to do this better now?
Yeah, no. We haven't done anything much like that the first 2 weeks.
No?
Nope. Since I'm a freshman, they're like starting this easy.
You're finding it easy. I'm glad. And I hope that's how it goes your whole time there. You know, I'm glad your college hasn't been traumatic to you. You know, at least you didn't have to move out. You didn't have to do any of that. You know, so hopefully that goes well. And then, you know, you have your scholarship money. You finally got your money, right? The direct deposit still wasn't working, so they cut you a check. But we got that taken care of. You know, is there anything else you want to mention?
Not from what I know, no.
Any advice to give anyone in your situation right now? Nothing?
Just know where you're going. That's it. If you get stuck, then you get stuck. I can't really give any advice to the freshmen.
All right. Well, hopefully down the road you can give some advice, you know, because you haven't really had too many challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of challenges, let's talk about our NFL fantasy football leagues and everything after the break, okay?
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
There. Go ahead. We are back.
Okay, I'm muted,
Not anymore.
but you are.
I'm always muted, John.
Oh, that's right, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
You're fine. Go ahead.
I got traumatized after the start of the show. All right, first week of football, NFL. Kicked off on Thursday night. Dallas versus Philly. Delayed by lightning.
For an hour and like 20 minutes.
And the first half of the game was amazing. And then it just collapsed.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see the whole game because I was working. I was doing a quiz that night, Jeopardy.
And I was studying, so I didn't see the whole game.
Yeah.
I saw some highlights.
But Cowboys lost, and we said they would lose, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that came out of that was Dak and Jalen Carter spitting at each other.
Yeah.
Now, Dak was looking at him when he spit. Was he spitting in his direction, or he just spit?
He was spitting at his direction.
So what if he was in the middle of spitting?
No, Sean.
And happened to look up at Jalen Carter at the same moment?
No. He said this many times. He spit at his direction and even nodded his head, "What's up?"
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Just playing devil's advocate here. So do you think Jalen Carter should have been punished as severely as he was?
Yeah, he spit directly on his jersey, though. He got
It's
in
a little
his face.
different, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little different. You know. But other than that, the game was pretty close, pretty good.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't have Cooper Rush on your fantasy football team.
Cooper Rush.
Who's the CeeDee Lamb? Sorry. CeeDee Lamb. You didn't have him, right?
No.
Because he was just dropping balls left and right. Dallas didn't do too good against Philly. But the first half was just amazing. They couldn't stop each other. Just back and forth and back and forth,
A little bit, yeah.
Then we had a game last night from Brazil. The Chiefs and Chargers. Your favorite game of the week?
No, it's not.
Last week we made predictions on who would win, and we both picked the Chiefs. Guess what?
We both lost.
We were wrong.
Yeah.
What I think is funny about that game is Mahomes on fantasy football got about 26 points in my league. I don't know about your league. It's about the same.
We both got the same.
Even though they lost, he still scored 26 points. Did you happen to see what Justin Herbert got? I didn't. I'm just wondering. Because Justin Herbert's over there doing his thing and really rocking it, And what I think is funny is with his stats and his points, let's see what he got for fantasy this week. Let me see here. Oh, hold on, I got to log in over here. Justin Herbert was one of those that, had a great game in my opinion. I really think he did really good. So I hope
he got 28.9.
28.9 points. And what was he projected?
He was projected 16.92. So he did almost double his projected.
Do you think they're going to be contenders this year?
Maybe.
Based on the first game, they didn't do too bad. They stopped Kansas City.
A little bit, yeah.
Now, I think one of the reasons they stopped Kansas City was because one of his receivers got knocked out, Xavier Worthy. I had him on my starting league.
Yeah, how many points did you get from him?
0.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know what he was projected?
What?
17.
Oh, God.
So that's a big hit. And who's the one that got injured?
during that game?
No. The other player that AJ Brown was AJ Brown.
They got injured.
No, well, not he got taken out. Whatever the case may be.
No.
Who's the other? There was another player. Xavier Worthy was one of them, but players that did not do too good for their team.
Yeah, AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. What happened with him? I thought he got injured.
No, he just didn't get past the ball. That's it. He didn't get injured. That's why I was confused.
Oh, that's what it was. He only got
What?
one target for 18 yards. 8 yards.
8 yards.
And got 1.8 points. That's what it was.
Him and Devonta Smith. Because Eagles mostly ran that game. Thank God. I got 44 points with Jalen Hurts and Saquon. And I'm on a bye week.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't get any fucking points. Huh. One time I do good, bro. One time I do good. I swear to God.
Hold on. We got to give people a little history on that. Last year was Connor's first experience with fantasy football. And, he picked his players, and I think he got ranked a D, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I ranked an E or F.
Oh, an E. That's what? E.
I was the worst one.
I
was like, oh, okay.
And
wow.
throughout the whole season, he was just struggling. He's like, this is not any fun for me. This is just something that I don't know what's happening, and I hope get it taken care of, right? But he struggled the whole year. But he did not come in last place. That's one advantage I can say. He did not come in last place. So this year, he studied the rosters, and he went in and got a lot of people that he wanted to recruit on his fantasy football league. He studied it. He paid attention during the draft. But his league doesn't have a lot of players, just his friends. And there's 5 people on the team, on the league. So the first week you have a bye, and that's one of Connor's beefs right now because he's got 24 or 40 something points, and it's not counting for anything. That's why you got to have so many people in your league. You got to get more people out there. But yeah, so we had those 2 games, and I think they were pretty good games. They weren't blowouts or anything.
I just wasn't expecting the Chiefs to lose.
Neither was I. But we talked about games coming up tomorrow. What game are you looking forward to tomorrow?
The Buffalo Bills and Ravens.
Bills and Ravens?
Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers.
Why is that one something that you're interested in?
Division rivals.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
The Vikings and Bears, same thing.
Giants and Commanders.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason. That's it.
I was looking at the schedule for the first half of games in the morning, and the only one I want to watch is the Giants and the Commanders. That's the only one that I want to watch. But the second game of the night, or the afternoon, I should say, Detroit and Green Bay is one I'm looking at, and Ravens and Bills. So that one's going to be a later game.
Yep.
That starts at 6:20. And we also have the 5:15 game with the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night
against the
Bears.
The
Bears. So Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football this week were all amazing games. Or I hope the next 2 are good.
Yeah.
Right. But when you think about the teams, right? One of the things I was talking about with Josh Allen was last year he did really, really good and got the MVP and whatnot. And I was telling Connor, like, he's my quarterback along with the receivers. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And it's you never know who's going to do what, right? That's one of the things that you just never know. And I think Josh is going to have a great year this year. I really, really do.
Mm-hmm.
If he beats the Ravens, does that change your outlook on the team at all?
No.
So you expect them to beat the Ravens?
No.
No. But if he beats them, that doesn't change your opinion.
Nope.
I think it will.
We beat them last year.
Right.
For playoffs.
Yeah. But you think they're going to lose this year. So if they win.
What do you mean?
Okay. Yeah, they beat them last year. But you're saying this year Ravens going to beat the Bills.
Yeah, in this game.
This game. Because it really doesn't matter too much. It's for week 1. Okay. Well, how old is Josh Allen? Do you know by any chance?
26.
Let's see how old he is. He's 29 years old. That's getting old.
2016, he was like still in high school. Yeah.
Okay, but 29 years old for a quarterback is old. So how many years do you think he has?
A lot.
In an interview in Hard Knocks, he was talking about he feels like he could do 10 years easy and be that 40-year-old quarterback.
Yeah.
Have you seen video of Aaron Rodgers practicing?
No.
He is so stiff he can't even move. I feel so bad for the Steelers. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. But speaking of age, there's a movie coming out. We talk about movies every now and then, right? Right now, there's really no good movies. I got to see Toxic Avenger.
How was that one?
It's exactly what you expect. If you've seen the Toxic Avenger and you know anything about it, it's exactly what to expect. You're not going to be surprised. You're not going to hate it. You're not going to like it. Whatever. It's exactly what you'll expect. So whatever you're expecting, that's what you're going to get. And you saw what movie?
I saw Caught Stealing.
Caught Stealing. And how was that one?
It was good. It actually met my expectations.
It met or exceeded?
Met.
So it's what you're expecting.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the movies that I'm looking forward to, and I was telling Connor this last night, but I'm going to ask everyone here, let's see if you know the answer to this. What is the oldest player to ever play college football? Age. The oldest player.
I would say 40 something.
40 something. So you're talking about a 4-year-old still being in college? Really?
Yeah.
What if I told you he was older? We did this last night, remember?
Yes, I remember from last night.
And you kept going up. And every time you went up, you're like, higher? So ask yourselves out there watching the show, how many people know that the oldest player to play was Mike Flint at 59 years old? All right. 59 years old. He got kicked off the team when he was in college. And he wanted to finish his degree and he wanted to go back to college. And he tried out. And to pursue his degree, he tried to play for the Sul Ross State University Lobos, my alma mater. And in 2007, I believe, 2007, he made the team, and he is the oldest player to ever play college football. Now, why do I bring him up right now? Because there's a movie coming out called The Senior, and it's about him. And it's about him joining the league, joining the team, and playing football at 59 years old. So that's one movie we're going to watch.
I'm not watching.
Yeah, we are. We're going to go see it. He says he doesn't want to watch it. We're going to watch it. But if you haven't had a chance to see it, if you're interested in football and some of these facts, it's really inspiring. This guy playing, Mike Flint. It's an amazing story. Being in the alma mater from Sul Ross, I'm so happy to hear that they actually made the movie about him. We were talking about him Thursday night with some of the guys I was hanging out with, and they were talking about who's the oldest player, who's the this, who's that, and I mentioned Mike Flint. And I said, there's even a movie about him. They're like, shut up. It's not real. 59 years old. And I showed it to them and they're like, what? I said, yeah, I've known about this since the very beginning. I'm trying to see if I can find out what position he played.
Quarterback now.
What?
Quarterback? Wait, who?
Quarterback?
Who?
Mike Flint. who played linebacker. That's what it was. He played linebacker at 59 years old. Now, I don't remember how many games he played in or what his stats were or anything, but can you imagine being on the opposite team and seeing someone 59 years old laying up across from you? Even worse, can you imagine him tackling you? How would you be embarrassed if you got a sack?
Yeah.
One of the craziest facts, I think this is so funny, is he was 8 years older than the coach.
Oh, God.
8 years older, and it's one of those that you just never know what to expect, you know. But he made the team. It wasn't just a gimmick. He made the team, and he played for Sul Ross. And let me look at, here's his stats here. He played, I lied, 2004 and 2005. I thought it was 2007. 2004 and 2005, and he played 16 games those 2 years. No, that's not, hold on. That's not the same microphone. Sorry. Wow, I was like, what? Let me, hold on. I just want to get this out before this show ends here. Well, anyway, I'm not going to waste your time with that, but you guys look it up and watch the senior. And next week when we come back, we're definitely going to talk about middle school and what kids can do to get college, high school credits in middle school. But for it, I think that's it for today, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
I think so.
I think we had a good time today, you guys. Thank you very much for coming out. And I appreciate you guys watching the show and sticking around. See you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Hot Takes with the Murph Man. Your listenership truly means a lot to both of us. For the latest hot takes and much, much more, be sure to visit purehottakes.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media platforms as Hot Takes with the Murph Man to stay connected and join the conversation. My take is this show is over. Thanks for listening, and I'll have more for you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.